In another episode about propagation, I demonstrated something with Radio Mobile online, and you can search by this by Google, or you key in the link that I also will mention below. And if you have already an account, you can key your data in here. But if you don't have an account, if you are here for the first time, you must subscribe. So we create a new account, and when you click on that, you get some terms and conditions. I agree. Next, you have to key in a username. Now I do some rubbish, but of course you can do your call sign or whatever. And when you do next, you get the email address where you want to get your password. So you do here your email address, and when you do next, you get on your email address your password. And then we go back to the first page. And when you're back, you can use your username again. The other one I did rubbish, but now I have my own login account. So I put in CRX, the password that you received by email, and here some tests that you are not a robot. I think it is 18, but I think a robot can also calculate this. And then we do submit, and then we wait a few seconds, and then we have here welcome CRX. You have my settings that includes your email address, etc. And you have a new site, my sites, multiple sites. So you must first make a site, and the site to which you want to try your contact, and then you can see links and you can make coverage plots. And antennas are nice, but I choose for omnidirectional, because then you see what is within your reach. Okay, suppose we do a new site. What happens then? Then you get a map of the world, and with this location, and you cannot key in a latitude and longitude, so you must or go to the cursor, or place the cursor at the center. So I slide it to here, and suppose I want to make some location here. Suppose this is your location, and you see already that you don't see the height, the elevation on this map. So everything is flat, but you don't know what the highest point will be. Okay, I have now placed this cursor on this, for example, house or whatever it is, and I say submit. And there it is. The location of this new site is this location, and we give it a name. As you can see, I have already several sites in it, and we give this site, we call it test, for example, and it says that it has already an elevation in meters, 12.7 meters. So that's likely above sea level. If you have your antenna on a house or something, then you need to add that elevation later when you define your station. Okay, description, I don't know, and group, I call it 6 centimeter. Just an example. And I add this to my sites. So I added now that location to my site. If I have two of them, I can make a link, and I can say, for example, from Doornse Kaap. There's a location I keyed in before. The antenna height above ground, and it's above the elevation that just is shown. 1.5 meter above that elevation. 2, and you don't do from and to the same, of course. I do it to test. That's the one I just made. Antenna height is now 1.5, so I changed it to 15 meter because maybe the building is 15 meter high. Then you have here the name, Radiolink Study 8, and you can leave it this way, you can change it the way you like. And here I add the frequency 5780, and I will come back to this soon. You have here TX power. Suppose you have 1 watt, you consider the TX loss as 1 dB, the antenna gain 20 dB, and the antenna on the receiving side 30 dB, so a better antenna. And also there some RX line loss, so the coax cable and connector. And here an important thing, the RX threshold, that's the sensitivity. And you can change this number to get here the number of minus dBm that you want, or maybe you have your sensitivity already in microvolts. And then the required reliability, I leave it 50%. And then we say submit. And then it says that this frequency is not within the reach of this program. So we choose a frequency close nearby. We make 80, we change it to 25. And when we then say submit, then it calculates, and it can take some time, but in this case it has already Doornse Kaap and the location we just added, and you see the line of sight is almost present, and of course the Fresnel zones, and I explained a lot about that in the other episodes. Here you have on the map, and I scroll now, you have here on the map from Doornse Kaap to that test location, so on the map, and you have here all the data that we just keyed in, and this is a very important one, of course, the one that shows how many dB margin you have. 41.5 dB overkill. So you could do this transmission with less power than you have now, or with less antenna gain that you have now. You can add this to your links, you can modify this link. If you add it to your links, you can later on call it back and you can modify it. But now we go back to the main menu. Just another example of my links. So that was another one that I made before. For example, FOT to ASH. View this link. It is over a larger distance, and as you can see, you see here some green and red colors and sometimes yellow. So it means where it is red, it is likely not possible to have contact there, but because the antenna here is a bit high, you see here that you have a margin, fade margin of 6 dB. So this contact should be possible, while there are in between areas where it is not possible. And therefore we come to another issue. I'm not quite sure if the K factor is taken into account with this, because normally you would say this contact is not possible, and it is also illustrated here, but with this fade margin. So that's the issue that's not clear for me. Another issue, these green things are related to the coverage. When we click on this, you get the description of the site that you choose here. We can make, for example, test. We had test. The antenna height above ground. I think the building was 15 meters that we had just keyed in. Your antenna type. I choose Omni because then you get the plot completely round. If you have some directional antenna keyed in here, then you have only one direction, of course. The antenna azimuth and tilt are not therefore very relevant in this case. And antenna gain, you can key in what your antenna gain is. In this, well, we can change it to 20. And then you have the mobile antenna height. So the other station. Is it 20 meters? No, it was only, for example, 2 meters high. And the antenna gain was also 20 dB. And then just imagine this. The frequency, we leave it this in the 6 centimeter band. We give it no description. We can give it a description. Test coverage. But you can also leave it open. We have a TX power still 1 watt, etc. We leave this all only. I see here that the receiver is not as sensitive as we think, as we would like. So we do it to 6, 5. We do it to 5, for example. And here you have something for the colors. And we leave this for low resolution, and we do submit. And then it starts to calculate, and then it calculates. Sometimes it takes a long time, sometimes it's fast, and then you get here the plot. And the green and the yellow colors are just what we defined. You see no legenda here. And when we scroll, you can scroll in, so you can see what your coverage will be if you are on this building with this height and this power and this antenna. So that's nice. When you are on a hill or something, you have of course a much larger plot. And you can choose here some other maps. And you can add this to your coverages. You can modify it, or you go back to the main menu. In fact, this is what Radio Mobile does, and with this online version it is a pity that you don't see what the height in the map is, so you cannot choose the highest mountain or whatever. So maybe next time more about propagation or about Radio Mobile, and maybe not the online version or other programs. Just play with it and see where you may come up with. See you!